Yesterday was Andrew Jackson Davis's birthday. He's not only a famous spiritualist, but one of the founders of the movement, and his innovations in the early 1850s for how to perform seances is an important topic in the pages of Supernatural Machines. And I want to show you exactly how those practices led directly to the development of the Ouija board over 40 years later. The Fox sisters are famously credited for creating spiritualism, and while the viral sensation of their rapping mediumship was an important impetus for the movement, they were not responsible for the social structure that grew spiritualism into a religion with millions of adherents. That's where Andrew Jackson Davis, the famous Poughkeepsie seer, comes in. Davis was a mesmerist, an early form of hypnotism that involved a magnetizer who would place a subject in a deep trance. But Davis was not the inducer. He was actually the subject, and while in trance would communicate his conversations with the spirits of the dead. Davis was already famous when the Fox sisters made their sensational debut, with a widespread quasi-religious network of devoted followers who studied his writings through his books and newspaper. He initially rejected spirit rapping, but he couldn't ignore the Fox sisters' growing popularity, and in 1851 published his first book endorsing the practice of mediumship. This book gave unique instructions for Davis-style seances, including this illustration, where Davis told his followers to form a circle around a table, with men on one side and women on the other, and a medium between them to make a sort of biological horseshoe magnet to charge the medium for manifestations. Davis refined these instructions 2 years later, this time telling followers to sit in a different arrangement meant to emulate the alternating copper and zinc discs of a voltaic pile battery, with men and women now alternating positions, their hands placed palms down on the table with their fingers touching in order to form an electrical charge to power the medium's manifestations. Davis's followers began experiencing a strange byproduct of this practice and reported how the tables began to move mysteriously beneath their outstretched fingers. Scientists would attribute these eerie movements to the ideomotor effect, but to practitioners it was evidence of spiritual influence, and they began to communicate with the autonomously moving tables by asking them to tip in response to questions, and soon the worldwide craze for table tipping was born. Enthusiasts in Paris tied pencils to the legs of tables in order to get written messages from spirits, which were soon refined to more manageable writing baskets, and then little boards or planchettes. And within a few years, the writing planchette would spark a massive international craze for spirit writing. Some clever spiritualists skipped the scribbling altogether and began to suggest pairing planchettes with alphabets in order to get clearer communications by pointing out letters. In 1886, this practice spread among Ohio spiritualists, who innovated what newspapers called the talking board, and ambitious entrepreneurs patented that a few years later as Ouija,